There's a dark red drink sitting in grocery stores and kitchen refrigerators right now that scientists have been obsessing over for years. Olympic athletes use it before competition. Researchers at top universities continue publishing studies about it, and more cardiovascular specialists are quietly recommending it to people who want to support healthy circulation naturally. That drink is beet juice. And what makes it so fascinating isn't hype, tradition, or internet wellness culture. Its effects on blood flow have been repeatedly measured in controlled scientific studies. But here's the part almost nobody talks about. Most people who drink beet juice are only getting a fraction of what it's truly capable of doing. Because when certain ingredients are combined with it, the effects don't just increase slightly, they multiply. Researchers describe this kind of interaction as synergistic, meaning the combination becomes more powerful than the individual parts added together. And the shocking part? These ingredients are not rare supplements or expensive biohacking compounds. They're simple, accessible foods that interact with the exact biological systems beet juice activates inside your body. In today's video, we're diving deep into the science behind how beet juice actually works at the molecular level, why it has become one of the most researched natural tools for circulation support, and the 3 specific ingredients that can dramatically amplify its effects. I've arranged them from the most familiar to the most surprising. And trust me, the 3rd ingredient completely changes the equation in a way that most people never see coming. To understand why these combinations work so well, you first need to understand what happens inside your body the moment you drink beet juice. Beets are naturally loaded with compounds called dietary nitrates, and these nitrates are the foundation of everything we're talking about today. Once the juice enters your system, the nitrates are absorbed and begin a surprisingly complex transformation process. But here's the interesting part. Nitrates themselves don't directly relax your blood vessels. They have to be converted step by step into something else first. And oddly enough, the first major step doesn't happen in your stomach. It happens in your mouth. Specific bacteria living on the surface of your tongue interact with the nitrates and convert them into compounds called nitrites. That conversion is absolutely essential. Without those bacteria, the entire process becomes dramatically less effective. After the nitrites are swallowed, the acidic environment in the stomach helps convert them again, this time into nitric oxide. And nitric oxide is where the real magic begins. Nitric oxide acts like a signaling molecule for your circulatory system. It tells the smooth muscle surrounding your blood vessels to relax. When those muscles relax, the vessels widen. Blood moves more easily. Resistance drops. Circulation improves throughout the body. Every organ, muscle, and tissue that depends on oxygen-rich blood benefits from this process. That's why researchers have connected nitric oxide production to everything from exercise endurance to cardiovascular performance and even cognitive function. What makes beet juice especially remarkable is that it creates nitric oxide through a completely different pathway than the one your body normally relies on. And that distinction becomes incredibly important as we age. Most people don't realize that the body already has its own built-in system for producing nitric oxide. Under healthy conditions, your blood vessels create it using specialized cells called endothelial cells. These cells line the interior of your arteries and use an amino acid called arginine to generate nitric oxide naturally. In younger, healthier individuals, this pathway works efficiently. Blood vessels stay flexible, responsive, and capable of adapting to changing circulation demands. But over time, that system becomes less reliable. Aging, stress, inflammation, poor sleep, sedentary habits, and metabolic dysfunction can all reduce endothelial performance. As endothelial function declines, nitric oxide production drops with it. Blood vessels become stiffer, circulation becomes less efficient, and cardiovascular strain gradually increases. This is one reason blood pressure issues and vascular problems become more common with age. But beet juice is different. Its nitrate-based pathway bypasses the endothelial system almost entirely. Instead of depending on aging blood vessels to create nitric oxide efficiently, beet juice uses the nitrate to nitrite conversion process to generate nitric oxide through an alternate route. That means even when endothelial function is weakened, the nitrate pathway can still remain active and effective. This is exactly why beet juice has attracted so much attention in cardiovascular science. Study after study has shown measurable effects. Researchers have documented reductions in blood pressure, improved exercise performance, enhanced oxygen delivery to muscles, and increased vascular responsiveness after beet juice consumption. Some studies have even shown effects beginning within just a few hours of drinking it. But here's where things become really interesting. Once scientists understood the exact pathway beet juice uses, they began identifying ways to amplify each stage of that process. And the first ingredient we're about to discuss targets one of the most critical conversion steps of all. The first ingredient that can dramatically enhance the effects of beet juice is something almost everyone already has in their kitchen: fresh lemon juice. It sounds simple, maybe even underwhelming, but the chemistry behind it is incredibly powerful. Remember the crucial step where nitrites are converted into nitric oxide inside the stomach? That reaction depends heavily on acidity. The more acidic the environment, the more efficiently nitrites are transformed into active nitric oxide. If stomach acidity is low, a significant portion of those nitrites may pass through without ever completing the conversion process. In other words, you could be wasting a large percentage of the circulatory potential hidden inside your beet juice. This is where lemon juice changes everything. Fresh lemon juice is naturally rich in citric acid, and when combined with beet juice, it creates a much more favorable environment for nitric oxide production. As the mixture enters the stomach, the increased acidity helps drive the conversion reaction forward more effectively. More nitrites become nitric oxide. More nitric oxide means greater blood vessel relaxation, better circulation, and a stronger overall effect from the same glass of beet juice. But lemon does something else that makes this combination even more fascinating. It also delivers a concentrated source of vitamin C. And vitamin C doesn't just support general health, it directly participates in the chemistry of nitric oxide formation. Researchers have shown that vitamin C can help accelerate the conversion of nitrites into nitric oxide by acting as a reducing agent during the reaction. Think of it like adding fuel to an already active system. The result is a more efficient pathway and a larger nitric oxide response. Suddenly, that simple squeeze of lemon becomes far more than a flavor upgrade. It becomes a strategic enhancement to the entire biological process. What makes vitamin C even more valuable is that its benefits extend far beyond just helping create nitric oxide. Once nitric oxide is produced, it's actually extremely fragile. Free radicals and oxidative stress can destroy it very quickly, shortening its lifespan and limiting its effects inside the blood vessels. Vitamin C helps protect nitric oxide from that destruction. In simple terms, it helps preserve the signal long enough for your circulation system to fully benefit from it. But there's another layer to this that most people never hear about. Vitamin C also supports the body's natural endothelial nitric oxide pathway, the same pathway that tends to weaken with age. It helps maintain important compounds involved in endothelial function, meaning lemon juice may support both nitric oxide systems at the same time. The nitrate pathway from beet juice and the endothelial pathway your body naturally uses. That creates a dual action effect that's far more comprehensive than beet juice alone. And the practical side is incredibly simple. You don't need complicated measurements or specialized products. Just squeeze the juice of one fresh lemon into a standard glass of beet juice, roughly 200 to 250 milliliters, stir it thoroughly, and drink it fresh. Surprisingly, the flavor works beautifully. The brightness of the lemon cuts through the earthy taste of the beets, creating a drink that feels cleaner, lighter, and more refreshing. But while lemon optimizes nitric oxide production, it still only addresses one side of the circulation equation. Because blood flow isn't determined only by how open your blood vessels are. It also depends on how easily the blood itself moves through those vessels. You can widen the highways all you want, but if the traffic is thick and sluggish, flow still won't be optimal. And that brings us to the second ingredient, one that targets blood flow from an entirely different angle and creates an incredibly effective partnership with beet juice. The second ingredient is fresh ginger. And what makes ginger so fascinating is that it improves circulation through mechanisms that beet juice doesn't fully address on its own. Beet juice primarily works by increasing nitric oxide, which relaxes and widens blood vessels. That's vasodilation. But circulation is influenced by more than vessel diameter alone. The physical properties of the blood itself matter just as much. If blood becomes too thick, sluggish, or resistant to movement, circulation efficiency drops, even when the vessels are fully open. This is where ginger becomes incredibly valuable. Ginger contains powerful bioactive compounds called gingerols and shogaols, and these compounds have been studied for their effects on blood rheology, the science of how blood flows through the body. Research suggests that ginger can help reduce excessive platelet aggregation, which is the tendency of blood components to clump together. When aggregation increases too much, blood becomes more viscous and less efficient at moving through smaller vessels and capillaries where oxygen delivery is most important. By helping maintain smoother blood flow, ginger complements the vasodilation created by beet juice perfectly. Beet juice widens the pathways, while ginger helps the blood move through them more efficiently. Together, the effect becomes far more powerful than either one alone. But ginger's benefits don't stop there. It also has significant anti-inflammatory properties that may help support healthier blood vessel function over time. Chronic inflammation can interfere with how blood vessels respond to nitric oxide signals, essentially dulling the body's ability to fully utilize the nitric oxide being produced. Ginger helps reduce that interference. And there's another fascinating effect researchers continue to explore. Ginger creates a mild warming or thermogenic response in the body. As body temperature subtly rises, circulation naturally increases as part of the body's heat regulation process. So now you're supporting blood flow through multiple independent mechanisms simultaneously. And this layered effect is exactly where the science becomes truly exciting. There's also emerging research suggesting something even more interesting about ginger: its possible influence on the oral bacteria responsible for the very first step of nitrate conversion. Remember those bacteria living on the tongue that transform dietary nitrates into nitrites? Without them, beet juice becomes dramatically less effective. Scientists are now exploring whether compounds in ginger may help support a healthier oral environment for these bacteria to function more efficiently. The research is still developing, but if future studies confirm this relationship, it would mean ginger enhances beet juice at the very beginning of the nitric oxide pathway itself. That's a remarkable possibility. Preparing the combination is simple. Fresh ginger works best because it contains significantly higher concentrations of active gingerols compared to dried powders. Grate about 1 to 2 teaspoons of fresh ginger root directly into the beet juice, or steep it briefly in warm water before adding the liquid. The flavor transformation is incredible. The earthy depth of beet juice combined with the sharp warmth of ginger creates a drink that feels energizing almost immediately. But now we arrive at the third ingredient, the one that completely changes the game. This is the ingredient most people never expect to see paired with beet juice, yet scientifically it may be the most fascinating combination of all. Raw cacao powder. Not heavily processed cocoa powder loaded with sugar, and not alkalized cocoa stripped of its beneficial compounds. Raw cacao. Because cacao doesn't just support nitric oxide production. It targets something deeper in the signaling pathway itself. To understand why this matters, we need to go one level further into the biology. Nitric oxide is only the messenger. Once it reaches the smooth muscle surrounding blood vessels, it activates another compound inside the cells called cyclic GMP. And cyclic GMP is what actually tells the muscles to relax. But here's the catch. Your body is constantly destroying cyclic GMP almost as quickly as it's created. And that's where cacao enters the story in a very unexpected way. Inside the body, an enzyme called phosphodiesterase type 5 constantly breaks down cyclic GMP, essentially shutting off the relaxation signal inside blood vessels. So even if beet juice creates a strong nitric oxide response, the benefits are still limited by how quickly cyclic GMP disappears. Think of it like trying to fill a bathtub while the drain is open. You can pour in more water, but if it's draining just as fast, the overall level never rises very high. Beet juice increases nitric oxide production, which increases cyclic GMP creation. But raw cacao affects the opposite side of the equation. The flavonoids in cacao, especially a compound called epicatechin, have been shown to help slow the breakdown of cyclic GMP. That means the relaxation signal lasts longer and builds to higher levels inside the blood vessels. This is what researchers describe as a convergent effect. Beet juice pushes harder on the accelerator by producing more nitric oxide, while cacao eases off the brakes by slowing the destruction of the downstream signal. And when both happen together, the overall effect becomes dramatically stronger than either one could create independently. But cacao goes even further. Its flavonoids may also stimulate the body's natural endothelial nitric oxide pathway at the same time. So now you have two separate nitric oxide systems operating simultaneously: the nitrate pathway from beet juice and the endothelial pathway supported by cacao. Meanwhile, cacao is also helping preserve cyclic GMP after it's created. This layered interaction is one of the most comprehensive natural circulation support combinations researchers have explored. And cacao brings additional benefits into the mix as well. It naturally contains magnesium, which supports healthy blood vessel relaxation, along with compounds like theobromine that may contribute to circulation through separate pathways. Add in its rich antioxidant profile, and cacao becomes far more than just a flavor addition. It becomes a strategic amplifier for the entire nitric oxide system. Putting everything together creates a surprisingly sophisticated circulation support formula using ingredients most people can find in an ordinary grocery store. The beet juice provides abundant dietary nitrates that convert into nitric oxide through the nitrate pathway, bypassing age-related endothelial limitations. The lemon juice increases acidity and delivers vitamin C, helping maximize nitric oxide production while also protecting it from oxidative breakdown. Ginger supports smoother blood flow by helping maintain healthy blood fluidity, reducing inflammatory stress on blood vessels, and adding its own thermogenic circulation effects. And raw cacao supports the signaling pathway downstream by helping preserve cyclic GMP, while simultaneously encouraging additional nitric oxide production through the endothelial system. Every ingredient targets a different stage of the blood flow process. Nothing overlaps unnecessarily. Instead, each layer strengthens the next. The result is a network of complementary mechanisms all working toward the same outcome: better circulation efficiency throughout the body. And the preparation is surprisingly simple. Start with around 200 milliliters of fresh beet juice or a high-quality beet juice without added sugars. Add the juice of 1 fresh lemon. Add 1 to 2 teaspoons of freshly grated ginger root. Then blend in 1 to 2 tablespoons of raw cacao powder until smooth. The final flavor is rich, earthy, slightly spicy, and surprisingly satisfying. The bright acidity from the lemon balances the beet's natural sweetness, while the cacao adds depth and the ginger creates warmth. For many people, it becomes less like a health drink and more like a daily ritual. Timing can vary depending on your goals. Some prefer drinking it in the morning for circulation support during active hours, while others enjoy it later in the evening as part of recovery and overnight restoration. Either approach can work well, and consistency matters far more than perfection, because while some effects appear quickly, the long-term vascular benefits build gradually over time. There's one final detail that almost nobody mentions, yet it can dramatically influence how effective beet juice actually is. Remember those bacteria on your tongue that convert nitrates into nitrites? They're essential for the entire nitric oxide pathway to function properly. And one of the fastest ways to disrupt them is by using strong antibacterial mouthwash around the same time you drink beet juice. Many antiseptic rinses wipe out the very bacteria responsible for initiating the nitrate conversion process. That means you could unknowingly reduce a large portion of the benefits before the reaction even begins. Regular brushing is completely fine, but avoiding aggressive antiseptic mouthwashes immediately before or after drinking beet juice may help preserve the efficiency of the pathway. Ingredient quality matters too. Fresh beets are ideal, but a high-quality organic beet juice without added sugars or preservatives works extremely well. Fresh lemon is preferable to bottled juice because it retains more active vitamin C and citric acid. Fresh ginger root provides significantly more beneficial compounds than dried powder. And raw cacao is critical because heavily processed cocoa often loses much of the flavonoid content responsible for these circulation support effects. The most important factor, though, is consistency. One serving can create measurable short-term effects on circulation within hours. But the deeper changes, vascular responsiveness, endothelial support, inflammatory balance, and overall circulatory efficiency, develop progressively through repeated daily use. That's how meaningful long-term results are built. Small actions repeated consistently create the biggest transformations over time. And when you understand the science behind what you're doing, even a simple daily drink can become something much more powerful than it first appears. If you enjoyed this video, share it with someone who would appreciate learning how these simple ingredients work together. And subscribe for more science-backed wellness insights designed to help you better understand how the body actually works.